All right, YouTube, this Detroit's HPTV coming at you on a Tuesday morning with some other interesting change of events. Al Sharpton again. Yes, Al Sharpton, the chief race baiter. He comes out to attack Trump, as of course that's his job. So he is so insulting that he's insulting black men. Like, oh, Trump came out with the shoe, and that's gonna make black men follow him because they like gym shoes. Black men like the Trump coming out with the shoe because it was a lady that was one of his supporters that made the shoe, and he came out and endorsed it, and she sold out. She got money. And then another thing, when y'all was talking about Trump said, yeah, they was putting my mugshot on the T-shirt because they did put his mugshot on the T-shirt and they did make money. And Trump ain't come after nobody suing him about his image or nothing. He let him get money. You understand? Most black people remember the 4 years under Trump, and they remember the 4 years that we into with Biden. So we don't need any race baiting and making somebody feel like they're less intelligent. But I digress. This morning, we're going to check out Al Sharpton on MSNBC. So let me make sure I say everything right with them. This is for fair usage under the 1976 Copyright Act for commentary, educational purpose, and the First Amendment. Let's check them out.
The Black Conservative Federation annual gala on Friday. And here is some of what he told the audience.
These lights are so bright in my eyes that I can't see too many people out there. But I can only see the black ones. I can't see any white ones, you see? That's how far I've come. That's how far I've come. I got indicted for nothing, for something that is nothing. They were doing it because it's election interference. And then I got indicted a second time, and a third time, and a fourth time. And a lot of people said that that's why the black people like me, because they have been hurt so badly and discriminated against. And they actually viewed me as I'm being discriminated against. It's been pretty amazing. I'm being indicted for you, the American people. I'm being indicted for you, the black population. The mugshot
I told you before. We identified with him when he got arrested, and we knew that they was throwing whatever sticks against the wall. We been there. We said, man, if they trying it with Trump, anybody can get it. So that means, don't look at it wrong. If they tried to Jimmy rig Donald Trump, an ex-president, ex-sitting president, into the judicial system, that means anybody can get the business from these politicians. Let's continue.
In the mugshot. And you know who embraced it more than anybody else? The black population. It's incredible. You see black people walking around with my mugshot. You know, they do shirts and they sell them for $19 a piece. It's pretty amazing. Millions, by the way, millions of these things have been sold.
Yeah, so, Rev,
my God.
Curious, Rev. I don't know. I mean, I suppose we could.
Look how stern and mean the informant. You know, Al Sharpton was a federal informant, not allegedly. He admitted to being a federal informant. He admitted to being a part of a hoax. He has been working consistently nonstop for the Democratic Party for the last 40 odd years. I know, I've watched his whole career. I'm not new to this charlatan. Look how mean he looks. Look like a straight hater. Trump said they put him on the shirts and they was selling them for $20 and they sold millions of them. Man, so you mean to tell me they sold millions of the $20 shirt with Trump face on it, and he ain't trying to sue him, and he ain't trying to chase him down and find out, can he get a cut? That's why you don't see Biden on no brother shirt. You ever you ever seen a brother with a Biden shirt? Tell the truth.
Do a poll of Black Americans and ask whether they are more likely to support somebody because they stole nuclear secrets from the White House, they stole secret war plans against Iran, they lied to the FBI about having those nuclear secrets and secret war plans, lied to the FBI and the Justice Department about having classified documents hidden in their beachfront resort. I mean, maybe Black Americans relate to that. I don't know. I wouldn't think they would. Do they relate to Trump telling his IT director to destroy all the evidence? And now the IT director testifying against him, or to maintenance people to flood the room where the IT department is to destroy all. I just don't know. Boy, it does seem like a stretch, doesn't it, Rev, to think that Donald Trump did.
Oh, after you accused him of all of that, why don't you just go and throw in the top one of all? He didn't finish his homework.
Doing all of that and illegally paying off a porn star, according to the Manhattan DA, and trying to foment.
Now that's a hell of a crime. How can you illegally pay a porn star? How can you illegally pay a porn star? How can you illegally pay anybody for their services? Unless you're saying their services are illegal. They just say anything. They just mince words. It's so open to interpretation. He illegally paid somebody. That means it's like he was probably being extorted. You know what I mean? 9 out of 10, they charging Donald Trump with being extorted. But it's his fault he got extorted.
A riot on January the 6th. I'm not so sure, Rev. Help me understand. Why would Black Americans relate to Donald Trump there? I don't understand the connection.
Well, first of all, let's be clear. Donald Trump is using the stereotype of blacks being criminals, and therefore we would gravitate towards somebody in a mugshot. He's in a mugshot for trying to interfere with an election. Blacks were arrested to get the right to vote. That's what the marches were about. It is the epitome of an insult also when you think of the fact that it is a black man that is prosecuting him in Manhattan, Alvin Bragg, a black woman in Georgia, a black woman, the New York State Attorney General Letitia James. So he's saying that black people would relate to someone
in all them states he's just named. Black people communities are being overran by migrants. Migrants are taking services that should be directed to them. Their children are being put out of school so that the migrants can sleep in them. In all those places he just named. In Fulton County, Georgia, down there where that black woman is, like he said, prosecuting, has had over 19 people lose their lives in her jail in under a year. Why he ain't talking about that? But let's continue.
indicted for trying to undermine the elections by blacks, but we would go with him rather than them. The other part of this that is so amazing is Donald Trump himself has been part of these kinds of unfair prosecutions of blacks. It was he that took out ads in newspapers calling for the death penalty of 5 young black and brown boys of raping a white woman in Central Park who went to jail falsely. It was later proven they didn't do it because of DNA. Donald Trump said, no, punish them anyway. So all of a sudden, I've been in this movement for 40, 50 years. I've never seen him stand up for blacks that were treated wrong by the criminal justice system. But now he's a symbol of being...
He pardoned Kodak Black. He pardoned Lil Wayne. He pardoned Angela Stanton and had the laws removed that was handcuffing women to beds while they were giving birth if they were in prison. Oh, and the Detroit mayor, Kwame Kilpatrick, he pardoned him. And the list goes on of people that he pardoned who were nonviolent felons. Oh, and since he's doing nothing else, he's the only one that signed the bill to give all the HBCUs annual money in the millions. And he did give us stimuluses, and he did give us Hellcats, and he did give us pistols. So don't be acting like because a person like Trump is something wrong with them. You got to tell me why you black and you like Biden. You got to tell me what he did. I know he created the 94 crime bill. I know he called us super predators. I know he said that if we integrated into the school with him, we would turn the school system into a jungle. I know he supported Strom Thurmond and the other one that was Grand Wizards and Clan. You know what I'm saying? I know he said if we don't vote for him, we ain't black. And the list goes on to his insults. So let's continue listening. Uncle Al.
He's being persecuted by black prosecutors, a black woman judge in the federal court in Washington, D.C., and any shameless blacks that are standing there applauding him needs to check the facts.
Well, and Mika, he is also making racist comments against Letitia James, against Fonnie Willis, against those prosecutors that happen to be people of color, just because they're black. I guess he didn't. Maybe they didn't fit that into his speech.
Listen, first it was Navalny, and now it's the African American community. These comparisons are sick and grotesque.
Man, MSNBC got the race baiter on there. They race baiting hard. They don't realize ain't nothing you can say that's gonna make us go and vote for Biden. Ain't that how y'all play politics? Ain't nothing you can say. It's gonna make us vote for the demons, Crossy. You know what I mean? We don't want to be as liberal as they trying to make this country. How about that? Let's listen to them for
The
a minute.
Harris campaign co-chair, former Congressman Cedric Richmond, responded in a statement, quote, Donald Trump claiming that Black Americans will support him because of his criminal charges is insulting, it's moronic, and it's just plain racist. He thinks Black voters are so uninformed that we won't see through his shameless pandering. He has another thing coming. So John Heilman, then there's Tim Scott. I don't know. It's very on the Republican side, the Trump acolytes, those that just
as you can see, clearly they had their race bait on. You know what I mean? Because Trump be making the same off cuff remarks that he always make. You know what I mean? But I got back here, I got Al Sharpton himself, Mr. Race Baiter. He race baiting with Joe Biden. He talking about slavery and everything at the meeting. Check this out. He been doing this thing a long time.
And the last thing I'll say is about judges. Vanita already talked about the importance of racial diversity on the bench. I want to talk about the importance of background diversity on the bench. Our federal courts have largely been turned over to former prosecutors. In order to become a federal judge, you essentially have to be a former prosecutor, local prosecutor, U.S. attorney. And that has cascaded up through those who are nominated for judicial positions, including the United States Supreme Court. That is an imbalance in our justice system. So much of our justice system is about defense. You are a former public defender, Mr. President-elect, and so you know whereof I speak. The things we are most proud of in our justice system are those that are associated with the rights of defendants. And so I would ask that as you are looking to fill these positions, that you also begin to reverse this prosecutor myopia for our federal bench and begin to look at former civil rights lawyers, Thurgood Marshall, who founded our organization, was nominated to the Second Circuit in 1961. And I'm not sure he could be nominated today to the circuit court because of what has become a bias against civil rights lawyers and public defenders. So I would ask, as you think about judicial nominations, that you can consider the full panel
that will clearly deal with protecting voting rights, not as some.
This is what I want y'all to hear. I want y'all to hear Al Sharpton. I had to catch it. I had to find it for you. Listen to Al Sharpton spiel. He's the chief race baiter.
Police reported is you told his daughter, George Floyd's daughter, you took her little hand because you said, I heard you say that your father will change the world. Well, I want to be able to tell that daughter, the man that told you that, so many cases, one right after.
I'm trying to get when Al Sharpton started his whole race bait on Joe Biden.
Defender, Mr. President-elect, and so you know whereof I speak. The things we are most proud of in our justice system
has earned a lot of trust, and I've known you, Mr. President-elect, for decades now, and I've known you, Vice President-elect, almost as long. You're not as old as he and I, so not as long. And you know, I trust very few people in Washington, but Cedric is among them. Let me start with where we are.
He's talking to Kamala Harris and Joe Biden.
Today, we are in a situation where for 4 years, Black America has been under siege. So in many ways, you are going to, as an administration, going to have to first dig us out of the racist mess that we've had to tolerate, deal with, and been subjected to because of your predecessor, and then also build on from there. And we can't take that lightly. In the area of policing, as you both know, we've had this year so many cases, one right after another. On August 28th, we had over 208,000 to be exact people in Washington around policing and voting rights. In fact, Vice President Harris was kind enough to have a video played there. People came in a pandemic. That's how outraged they are about, in a matter of a month, seeing one man with a knee on his neck kill another person shot in the back in a Wendy's in Atlanta, a young lady killed in her own house in Louisville, Kentucky. All of this in a month.
He race bait and he playing with emotion, but what you gonna see? What do he get accomplished other than he just talking? He likes to himself talk. It's like he making a deal for himself. He's selling people out. Check him out.
In a pandemic. And the president of the United States at that time did nothing. He went to Kenosha when a kid was shot and met with law enforcement and left. It is needed that we have a presidency that supports policing and supports proper policing and understand that victims are not looking for favors, they're looking for the law to be upheld. And we need, in saying that, an attorney general that will deal with the consent decrees that this administration immediately suspended, that will deal with having an empowered U.S. attorneys that will seriously look at these cases, and that will at the same time enforce the law equally and evenly in all quarters. Now, I was one that said to you, President-elect, that I wanted to see a Black woman as vice president. You said, I hear you, Al.
You hear this? He said, I told you I wanted to see a Black woman as president. You said, I hear you, Al. I just go find your Black woman. I just help make her vice president.
And you ultimately came there. I had nothing to do with it, but I said that. So I will say to you, I prefer Black attorney general. I would say the least, though, is we should have an attorney general that has a proven civil rights record. On-the-job training on civil rights will not do it this time. We need somebody that can establish that they've dealt with civil rights issues and they know what they're doing, because we're in an era that we've not been in before with the pandemic and these huge amount of cases, one right after another. I will never forget, I told a reporter today that I will never forget that when we brought the body of George Floyd from Minneapolis and National Action Network and
This how he sit in that office and sell you out. He keeps bringing up George Floyd. He keeps putting that out there because they just was protesting a few years ago about it. This is what they do. He's race baiting Joe Biden them for the votes. His job has been to deliver the votes that he could get out of the black community. You see him race baiting. You see how he keep bringing up George Floyd. You see how he talk. Come on, this played out.
I facilitated the families, got our supporters to help them. And we sat there in Houston, Texas. How you and your wife, Mr. President-elect, flew to Houston and met with that family and said to them, we just did not want to disrupt the funeral. And they'll never forget that. But the thing that got me that I told this reporter is you told his daughter, George Floyd's daughter, you took her little hand because you said, I heard you say that your father will change the world. Well, I want to be able to tell that daughter, the man that told you that did not mean that to get votes. He meant that because he's going to help change our world. Because
I'm gonna stop there. You see what it is. They parented so hard. He talking about George Floyd's daughter was promised something by Joe Biden that Joe Biden is incapable of giving. Well, this is Tuesday morning, y'all. Y'all tell me what y'all think about the chief race baiter. Is it gonna work again? Were you offended? Saying to you out of Detroit. Like, share, and subscribe. Peace.